Welcome to Taking Care of Lady Business, where we put the business back in lady business. Hosted by Jennifer Justice, founder and CEO of the Justice Department, a management strategy and law firm that works with female and woke male entrepreneurs, executives, talent, brands, and creatives to build and maximize their wealth, focusing in the areas of tech, consumer product, finance, media, entertainment, and fashion. Jennifer interviews entrepreneurial women who have done it all, who will be sharing their secrets on all things business, especially as a woman. These highly successful women will share strategies and insights, including what not to do and what it takes to win. And now, here's your host, Jennifer Justice.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Taking Care of Lady Business, where we're putting the business back into lady business. Today, I have on a very exciting guest. I know that you all will be super excited too, because if you're not currently wearing her jewelry, which I am, or some of her houseware products, or using her amazing salts, you will be after this. So today we have on Jennifer Fisher, who is the founder of Jennifer Fisher Jewelry, soon to be just Jennifer Fisher, as it should. She's a brand in and of herself. Welcome.
Hi, girl. Thanks for
Hi.
having me.
No, I'm so excited to have you because I know I have so many friends who are such massive fans of yours, and like in LA and in New York. In fact, one of them told me like she was in the store and you were across the room in LA, and she was like, I was too scared to say hi. I was like, polite.
Everyone needs to say hi. Like
I know.
I get these messages and they're like, I saw you at this restaurant. I didn't want to say hi. Like, say hi.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is why I want you on, so everyone understands how personable you are and how you grew this business from nothing with an idea and are turning it into an empire for your whole family. And I love it so much. So let's start there. Let's start with like how you started the company and why you started the company.
So I had a career before I was a jewelry designer. I was a wardrobe stylist in LA. I studied business marketing at USC. I thought I wanted to be a publisher of a magazine, but I started doing internships when I was in college. And I'm like, this is not what I want to do. I'd be on the, the ad side, entering numbers for the publisher, and I'd be watching the clothing racks go by. And I'm like, I need to be over there, not over here. So I got into wardrobe styling. I had friends that worked for directors in LA, and I ended up becoming a commercial wardrobe stylist. I worked for a little bit for Aaron Spelling on one of his TV shows. So in costume design, and I just always loved clothes. I always loved fashion. And that took me in that direction for about 10 years in LA. And I met this great guy, Kevin, in New York when I was here for a trip with one of my girlfriends. And we started dating, and I ended up moving to New York. Kevin and I ended up together, as any of you guys know who follow me, Mr. Coffee. And he proposed to me. Actually, he didn't propose to me. I got sick. I got diagnosed with something called a desmoid tumor on my left chest wall. And I think it's from scar tissue from my breast implants that I got in 1997. It's like 1 in 500,000 soft tissue sarcomas is one of these. It's not technically cancer. It's a soft tissue sarcoma. It's not breast cancer. It's basically a keloid scar on the inside of your body that turns into a tumor.
Wow.
So I went through chemotherapy for that. Kevin proposed while I was in the middle of chemo. I was doing chemo in Cedars-Sinai in LA and here at St. Vincent's when it was still downtown. My tumor shrunk. He proposed, we got married. And when we wanted to have kids, my oncologist was like, no way, you can't have kids. You can't carry a baby. Your tumor grows from estrogen, which we knew. So I went through surrogacy, wasn't successful multiple times, IVF multiple times, wasn't successful. And then after all of that, I finally got pregnant on my own. And that was my son, Shane.
Aww.
And so I was still working as a wardrobe stylist, and I was being given gifts after he was born, to represent him, mom jewelry. Yeah. And none of it really, represented who I was. It just looked like something everybody else had. And I was like, I don't want the same thing that everybody has. So being a wardrobe stylist for so many years, you're pretty resourceful. You're used to directors, telling you one thing, at 12 o'clock at night saying, have these 120 coveralls done by the next day in this blue color that matches my American spirits or whatever. So anyways, I went up to the jewelry district and I knocked on doors. I found this amazing woman who said she would make this customized dog tag for me that said Shane. And I wore it on a very long gold chain, heavy chain at about 24 inches. And I would wear it on set when I was a stylist. And everybody would come up to me and say, what does that say? It was like an instant conversation piece. Mm-hmm. And I started making it for literally like the grips and the gaffers, like all the guys on set. They're like, my wife would like that, but she likes hearts. My wife would like that, but she likes moons. So I started making all these different shapes and customizing them for everybody as gifts. And I happened to make one for Uma Thurman, and she got it the day she was shooting a Glamour magazine cover, and she wore it on the cover of Glamour. And that was super helpful. Sort of put me on the map as starting to make celebrity mom jewelry, which, who knew like this is sort of what this would turn into. It was just literally an idea in my bedroom with a 6-month kid. And I was packaging and shipping all of these orders out of my bedroom. And one day my husband, Kevin, looked at me and he's like, Jen, I think you should stop styling. And like, this is a business. Yeah. You need to start a website. And like back in the day, no one was selling direct to consumer fine jewelry that was customizable back then. Like it wasn't really happening. So, we like to say that we started it, before everyone else pretty early on.
Yeah.
Early adapters to, DTC, selling fine jewelry, women shopping for themselves, which is another thing, which is, awesome. It was really, in the beginning, it was a lot of men buying it. And then it's really suddenly women started buying all this jewelry for themselves.
Yeah. Wait, I want to stop you right there because think about this. Like she started it as a new mom, right? So many women are like, I don't know when to have kids. I don't know. It's like, there's no perfect time to have kids, right? It's like they disrupt your whole life, but they also make you so laser focused on what you want that you started a whole business around. And because of having Shane, and so it's like, that's super inspirational in and of itself that you're like there with the 6-month-old and this is how you start your business.
Yeah. Like literally like holding him and like trying to tape a package. Like it's one of those things where, I get so many women now that come to me and say, I'm so scared to do it. I don't know how to do it. I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing. Like I literally made it up as I went along. I mean, it's until a few years ago that we were like, I was still, before I brought Kevin in, I was still every day. It was like fly by the seat of my pants. Like, let's do this. Let's do this. Kevin's like, Jen, we can't do that anymore. Like, it doesn't work that way. And, it hasn't been that way for a while now, but in the beginning, that's really how you build a business.
Yeah.
You trust your instincts, you listen to what you think is working. I always say this too, when we first started and I was going to magazines and we were trying to get editorial placement on the jewelry. And, I'll never forget some of those, mean editors that would say to me, this will never work. No one wants this, no one wants this jewelry. I mean, it's so funny. And then like now
that's why they're an editor and you are building an empire. You know what I mean?
I think it's about not listening to the negativity. Like I always say, if I had $5 for every time someone told me no, like I would be retired.
Yeah.
You can't make it. This isn't going to work. Good luck to you. All of that. And it's funny. I see some of those people now and I'm like, hey, how you doing? No, it's what I'm still kicking. So it's one of those things where you can't take what other people say as also advice. That's another thing that I want to say to women out there that are wanting to start this and do this on their own. I got so much shitty advice.
Oh, wait, you're going to hold that. That's the last question I ask everybody. What's the worst advice you ever get? So you hold that to the last. Okay.
All right. I'll hold that to the last.
Remember that one. Cause there's a lot.
It's not even so much that. It's sort of, people seem to think because the way that they did it is the way that it has to be done.
True. Yeah.
And that's absolutely not true. That is, and especially in this day and age, like it's really all about now you have the freedom to do it however you want and to make it yours. Like you don't want to be like everybody else out there. Why would you want to emulate what someone else has already done? So you really need to, that's another thing where it's like, it's not about, and I always say when I sort of put my horse blinders on, that's when our company really started to grow. When I stopped looking around at what everyone else was doing and comparing myself to others and sort of like, well, that seems successful. Maybe we should do it that way, but I'm not that person. I'm not that brand. So why would that work for us? And so making those mistakes and thinking that you should, do it how X, Y, and Z is doing it is not the way to do it. It's entirely the opposite. Most of the times, there's maybe a couple things that might be similar and could work for you also, but there's no reason in really listening to how someone else has done it exactly because you're doing something completely different.
Yeah, that's where real innovation happens, right? It's like you're building something differently. And you're like, oh wait, this can work this way too. I'm
a jewelry designer who makes salt. Like, what is that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like people are like, it's so weird, but it works because it's so weird. And then it's also like, it just makes sense because I'm that weird person that happens to also love to cook
Yeah.
and loves to eat a certain way and have a certain diet. And I have other health problems. I'm not trying to be a health guru or a nutritionist. That's the last thing I'm trying to be. Like, I'm just myself and show people, I made so many mistakes over the years of eating improperly and doing stupid diets and eating fake food. And that's a whole other side of the business and now who we are as a brand, but it's a huge thing and it's a big deal. And that's why the salts are here, about, I'm trying to educate people about not making the same mistakes that I made, because I was like this for so many years. And if I can help girls that are younger, not yo-yo and do all that, waste your money and do all those stupid things. It's really not about gimmicks or any of that stuff. It's about keeping it super simple.
Yeah. This is exactly what the podcast is about, is like helping women, give advice for women by women, because only we know what it's like to walk in a room. So let's go back to, you're in your room. Kevin's like, Jen, you need to make this into a business. Right. And then you're like, okay, great. And so how do I do that? Like, so you're growing, like, how long did it take? I mean, how old is Shane now?
Shane's 16.
Yeah. See, and that's the other thing. If everyone thinks it's like, oh, it's an overnight success. Like, just because you're like, no, it's not an overnight success. When things happen really quickly, they can also go away really quickly. So you've been building this like, foundation for a long time. And so you're going along, you're doing this. And what most people would do, and another thing I love so much about you, is go and try to raise money. And you were like, No, that's why it took us so long. Like, we really wanted to do it on our own. We really wanted to, like, the fact that we are still this large and in it, and we have never taken outside capital is kind of insane. But, I wanted to raise my kids. I wanted to take it slow. I wanted to, first, I never thought it would become this large, to be totally honest. And we've been really fortunate in the partnerships we've had and things that have happened that have sort of taken us into lifestyle and really has changed the brand over the last 2 years. But, I really wanted to be around to raise my kids. Yeah.
Like, I knew that the moment I raised money and brought in outside capital, it would completely change the business.
Yeah.
Growth into retail, everything that we would having to be away and travel more. And we made a conscious decision to sort of wait. We're like, we can do this. Like, we're just going to keep going along. And until we really decide to have a retail footprint across the United States and internationally, there's no reason to do it.
Yeah.
So let's just keep it. And my kids are now in high school. They're, kind of on autopilot. Shane's going to be in college and, it's crazy in like a year and a half, 2 years. What is it? So it's sort of nuts. We really were like, okay, time to step on the gas.
Right.
Let's do it. We're talking to people now, but we haven't taken anything yet. We really want to make sure it's the right partner.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. People have to be really careful. Everyone, they do this song and dance and it sounds perfect and wonderful. You've got to be really careful and you've got to take your time. You've got to get to know these people.
So when you were doing, and another thing is when you hit on it, like you were a marketing major at USC. So backstory, I met Jennifer when my kids were born and I was looking for jewelry to memorialize their names, etc. And so we got introduced by a mutual friend, Marcy, and I went there and I looked, I was like, this is totally what I want. And I ordered my little dog tags and I still wear them, especially when I travel, I wear them all the time. And, I don't spend enough money on myself now, because once I had the kids, I never I remember meeting you, and it was like, Instagram is actually kind of just burgeoning. And because you were a marketing major, you were like straight to the D2C, direct to consumer. And you were like on fire with Instagram and like really understanding what your customer really, gravitated to, with you. So you want to talk about how like that thing, because that is something that nobody really, it's like everyone struggles with, right? And there's so few people who are really good at it.
So different now. I was such an early adopter to Instagram. I'd come out of the Vogue CFDA Fashion Fund. I remember when Ava Chen worked at Teen Vogue, and then Ava went to go to Instagram, and it was sort of this new platform. And, we're kind of like, this is fun. This is like, cool. You get to throw up photos and like say something about it and stick it out there. And it, it's everywhere so fast. So, we were pretty early onto the platform when it really launched. And I still do all the social media myself. I do all the photography, except for the photos of me, but I do the food photography. I post to the food account. I talk to everybody. I'm the one that you guys are all talking to when you guys DM me asking questions, unless it's a store account, because we now have our Beverly Hills store and our New York store. Those, my team answers those DMs. But, there's something about being able to personalize your content for who you are. And it doesn't feel that it's, being massively done by some big ad agency. I think that's why people, believe and like us as a brand, is I think they know that, I'm behind it. And it's not so mass, yet. And I still think we'll always stay that way. We have conversations about, content and bringing in the teams and what we're going to do and how it's going to change, and it's going to change soon, but I'll still be behind it. I think that there's something about a founder also being the person that, sort of controls what goes out there content wise is also sort of different. It's just sort of not a lot of people do it.
Yeah. I do it well. People try, but it's the one thing you've been, is very consistent. Like, we like who you are, you can see your presence on there. You will highlight all the women who wear it, right? From the J-Lo and Rihanna and Hailey Bieber. And that's amazing because, they look great and they look great in your jewelry, but also it's like, you give your quotes, you know what I mean? And we get to see who you are as a person. And that is so authentic, to you.
Yeah, it's my mood or whatever. And that's another thing, like as a mom, I think, a lot of women sort of, it resonates with them too. They're like, oh, even today I put up 2 quotes this morning because I felt like it. And, the messages you get back, like, I needed that today, thank you. So it's like, if you're doing stuff that can help other women that are kind of having like not a great day or feeling sort of lost or lonely, like to me, that's why Instagram's so great. I don't think, it's not really about sales for me on there. It's the best communication tool there is out there for your customers. So if you're as a small business owner, if there's women out there that are listening to this, I think that, really engaging with your customers and, everybody that you're speaking with on there. I mean, even if they're not customers yet, they'll maybe be a customer one day. I get a lot of young girls. I get a lot of girls in college, that first of all, that like want to make my banana bread or are cooking and maybe aren't customers yet, or maybe buy my salt first. And, it's just it's a really nice way of building a community for your brand.
Yeah, exactly. It's a built-in community that's super loyal to you. Okay. So then you're building your brand and it gets to a certain point, and then at one point you end up hiring your husband.
I know.
So what was that whole process like? And what exactly does Kevin do for the company?
Well, Kevin is the president. Kevin worked in finance for a million years. And, when things started to change for all of these guys in finance, he was like, I could just tell he wasn't very happy. And I was like, hey, I need help. Because every night I'd be coming home and I'd be like, oh, I don't know what to do about this. What do I do with this? I don't know how to do this. Can you help me with this? And finally, it was sort of like, this just makes sense.
Yeah.
And originally he was coming in only to sort of help me out until we hired someone. And then it just worked. I mean, it's not perfect. Let me tell you that. That's for sure. I mean, every day it's sort of like, but I mean, it's really hard to work with your spouse. You have to communicate a lot. And maybe that'll change too. He might not stay forever, but right now it's working. And it's great now that we're also, we're talking about, raising capital and going through all of that. And he's been an enormous help with going through all of that. So it's nice to have him.
No, that is, and one of the things that I see in a pattern, with women and female founders in particular, because who knows the reasoning behind it, but it's like, we don't do our own hair. We don't do our nails. We don't watch our own kids, but for some reason in business, we think we can do it all. Right. But we can't. Like, we need to hire the people who are experts. We are all an expert at one thing. Like, you were amazing at marketing and you're creative and visual design. I happen to have a business background. I do business. That means I can't do the social media. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? I don't know how to do it, and I'm not disciplined enough to do it. I don't, there's certain things, and like, we need to hire for that. We need to have these people in place to help build your businesses. And look, if you can hire a woman, it's okay if it's your husband, even better, and give them that job.
Because we're looking to bring a big hire in who's female. So I'm hoping this works out. But I want to have more women around me. I've got a lot of women around me too. We have males too, but it is really about, hiring is so important. It's something that I was not good at until Kevin came in. Kevin, we have HR now and multiple HR, and now he's much better at recruiting and finding, people that fit. Your team is honestly, it's the most important thing.
Right.
I can sit here and do what I do and, here, but it really is those people on your team that do the day-to-day for you that make it work. Like, I could not, could not do it without.
And your team has grown a ton, but you also, I know that when you do your own photo shoots too now, like, you are the face, you are all of that.
For now, I am for now, because we did a lot of market research and people didn't want to see younger models on the website. I'm 50.
Yeah.
Okay. The women that are 50 didn't want to see a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
So, should we shoot models and have other people on the website? Maybe in the future. I'm not saying never, but right now it's working.
Let's talk about now how you have grown authentically out into your brand extensions and the deals that you've done in home with like CB2 and your cooking stuff. How did that happen? Like, I love that you do this, by the way, because it was like, that's exactly what working for Jay-Z. It was like, he turned his hobbies into businesses. And it's exactly how you should be growing. And it's like such a good case study and, for other people to emulate.
I mean, to be honest, I never thought I'd be designing furniture for CB2. I mean, or in dishes. Like I never thought that was something big that I would be doing. They came to me actually, because, they're known for going, doing every single collab they do is sort of one is over here, one is over here. They're all very different people that they collab with, like Lenny Kravitz and then like Goop and Fred Siegel, the Novogratz. It's like everyone is very different in their field, in creatives. So it was really cool that when we were introduced to them and we hit it off, and it was just sort of like, okay, cool. You into this? I'm into this. Let's do it. And I designed 108 pieces of furniture and home for CB2 on the first launch, which actually dropped February 28th, right before the world shut down for COVID.
Yeah.
We had our party in New York right before.
Right.
And then we started a tour for it and we had to stop. So we went to Dallas and then LA, and then we had to come back because everything shut down. So it was sort of the worst timing in the world, but the best timing in the world with COVID of launching a home collaboration online where everyone could just shop and redo their homes while they're sitting at home.
Yeah.
So it's sort of
exactly what happened.
It's sort of crazy what happened. So the collab was very successful. And I think that also the reason why it was successful is I think the way that I ended up designing home is very similar to how I designed my jewelry. I really wanted to feel evergreen and wanted to feel that it can sort of work in any way. Like, the hoops that you have on, you can wear them during the day on a podcast, you can wear them out at night, they're that kind of thing. And so all of the furniture and the pieces in the collection, I really wanted people to be able to buy them and put them into, whatever their color scheme is or their design style or however their house is decorated. You could throw in one of my pieces and it wouldn't be jarring. It wasn't like it was like an orange purple sofa. Everything was very muted and gray, black and white. And I think that was also part of the reason why it also worked, is that everything was very neutral and, not designed really severely in any, one direction or, genre and timeline. I really wanted to sort of feel timeless.
Yeah. And also probably with pain points that you had in your own house or what you wanted to see out there.
Well, everything here, I mean, that's colorful, that photo. I mean, it's everything in my house is it's very neutral. So, that's how I went into this. And it was so much fun, Jen. It was like the time of my life being able to do it. And given the fact that the first one was so successful, we ended up doing a holiday one during COVID.
Yeah.
Still, which was interesting to design and shoot, which was very different from the design process of the first one. Which was, more collaborative in person. This one, the second one, and then the third one even, which was kitchen, was really, everything was remote. The photo shoots, it was crazy. Like people are masked. It was very interesting doing this in the middle of COVID. But so much fun. And I'm so grateful I got to work with them. They were amazing brand partners. I would do it again in a heartbeat. I loved them. Like amazing people from Chicago. Like it was very different getting to work with a group of people that weren't technically like New York fashion people.
Right.
Nothing against New York fashion people, but it was like it was just so,
And then Jennifer Fisher Kitchen, if you're not following, I'm sure you will after listening to this. Like, so how did that evolve?
That happened actually before CB2. So Jennifer Fisher Kitchen started when I started with my salts. So the salts started, being an early adopter to Instagram, and everyone was posting their damn avocado toast. I had to do it too. So, one day on my jewelry account, I put up my avocado toast. And literally, Jen, more people asked what was on my avocado toast than like the hoops Rihanna was wearing in the photo before that.
Right.
So it was kind of like, what? This is so wild. Because I mean, what do people do 3 times a day? They eat normally. Yeah. So it was very interesting. So I was like, it's the salt, it's a salt blend. I take lemons. My father ships me lemons from California and I don't like to waste food. So I grate the rind and I use every part of the lemon. And I made this salt blend because I could never find anything that I wanted to put on my eggs in the morning that didn't have garlic or onion in it. Because if you go and look for seasoned salts or flavored salts, a lot of the times those are some of the ingredients. And when I'm intermittent fasting a lot now, but when I was eating more breakfast, I would have eggs in the morning because of my thyroid disease. I just always did. And I felt satisfied, and I'd have a piece of avocado toast with an egg or whatever. So it was sort of designed for that. And then I started putting it on more things and on salads and things. And Kevin kept looking at me going, this is really good. What are you seasoning this with? And I was like, it's that salt blend.
Yeah.
And he's like, And so he's like, maybe, it's just like you need to start a website. Kevin's in here saying, he's like, you need to, maybe we need to sell this. Cause everyone was like, can I buy it? Can I buy it? Can I buy it? So we did it as an editor gifting for all of the editors at Holiday with like an avocado and a lemon and some chips so they can make their own avocado mash at the office. Cause they're all working or used to be working crazy hours and stuck at their desks, and no one needs another chocolate bar with like my logo or my face on it. So like, something healthy. So we did that. And I'd never gotten more positive feedback from editor-in-chiefs in my life of people that are like, thank you for sending us something that's useful and delicious and won't make us feel terrible at the end of the day. So that kind of started there, and we started packaging it and selling it. And I started posting, I started a separate Instagram account, Jennifer Fisher Kitchen. And I literally just started documenting cooking for my family every day.
Right.
This is what I made tonight, and originally when it started out, there was dairy in it. There was some gluten in it. And my diet wasn't as clean as it is now. And it's really evolved and changed to now where I'm grain-free, I'm dairy-free, I'm gum-free. I could go on for hours about food and all of that stuff. Read your labels, everybody, and check your almond milk. There's crap in it, so it's that kind of thing. So eating better. And people are really, it's kind of crazy how people are into it. So the food has become something that's very large, and we're going to continue to expand it. We're doing more product categories. We're doing seasoning that's going to be coming soon. I probably shouldn't be saying that, but we are. And then a few more salt flavors. And then we're going to go into some other things too. So we're going to continue to grow the CPG side of the business.
Yeah.
And we'll see where it takes us.
Well, it's just, again, it's like a great inspirational story because you're capitalizing on things that you could see and testing in the market. You weren't even trying to do it, and people are like responding to it. And so you're like, okay, you know what? I mean, a lot of people will be like, oh, people like it when I do this, but you turned it into a business, and you turned it into something.
That's all I do.
That. I know you are. You're such a hustler. I love that.
Like I've been selling to people my whole life. Like I was that kid who would pick your flowers in your yard and your avocados off your tree, and I'd go to your front door and bing, bing, like, would you like to buy these? And it's like, what? But I was always like growing up in Santa Barbara, like I always had a business, I was just who I am. My dad's the same way though. I get it from my dad.
And so now like we have stores, we have your first store in LA. And when is the New York store opening?
Well, we have a New York store. So our store on the second floor on Fifth Avenue, which originally was just our offices and turned into a store, is still there. And once the Soho store opens, we're opening on West Broadway next to Lauderay, which is so exciting, in March, hopefully.
Amazing.
Hopefully. And then we're going to start, our next state will be Dallas or Texas, probably Dallas.
Right. I love it.
And then Chicago. We've got a plan. So.
And building the entire empire. I love it. I'm so happy for you though. It's like super inspiring. And I know that there's so many women out there like listening and going, okay, wait, I can do this. Like, and that's the whole point. I mean, tell me like, if there's like something that you did wrong that you wouldn't do again, like the advice, it's like, okay.
There's a lot, but there's the one thing, and I say this a lot when I talk to people. I thought that I had to conform to be what like fashion is when I sort of came into all of this. And I don't know if it's because I went through the Vogue CFDA Fashion Fund so early or what it was, but I thought that I had to be something, and that absolutely is not true. So, it's sort of one of those things where like, oh, I need to be like this because so-and-so is you cannot compare yourself to anybody. The moment I stopped doing that and I did what I wanted to do and what I felt was right is the moment my business completely changed. Right.
It just started growing because it was growing authentically to what you were doing.
Exactly. It was it was who I am, not me trying to be somebody else.
Yeah.
It's a huge mistake that a lot of people make. Don't do that, guys. Like, be yourself. Right. Like, not even, and it wasn't like it was, I was being someone else every day. I just wasn't listening to what I wanted to do. I just was looking around too much at what other people were doing, thinking, maybe I need to do it this way. No.
Yeah. What was the spark that made you finally open? We have the store in New York, but like a storefront in LA.
Well, Kevin and I are both from California. Going back there, and we are, coastally, we're New York and LA. Our highest shipping zip code is 90210 outside of New York. It just made sense to be in LA first. For this point of where we are in the United States, let's give it to them on the other coast. So if they're somewhere in between and going either way, they can make it. It just made sense to do it there. And we kept going. What's funny is also where we opened in LA is not really traditionally where there are a few jewelry stores around us, which is kind of cool. But I think it's important to be around beauty and like food and booze.
Yeah.
Like we'll never be a Rodeo Drive jewelry brand. I think it's, because that's sort of who I am. Like I like food and booze. Like I like to go and get things done. Like it's, it makes sense to where we are. We're on North Cannon, Beverly Hills, across from Wally's, next to Dry Bar, up from La Scala. Like it just made sense. We found this spot and we're like, let's just do it.
Right.
Let's go for it. And it's been amazing. It's been great. Like, I'm so happy that we did it. And we built it out during COVID, which was also very interesting.
Right.
To do, but it was the right move.
Yeah.
And now we realize that retail, it's not about having a ton of stores, but we do need to have a retail footprint for people to be able to touch and feel the jewelry. Because once they understand how weighted it is in the gold and how light it is and the hoops, that they're like, oh my God, I had no idea by just looking at this online. You
have to like have that see and feel kind of like,
yeah, you do
touch it. It's funny how like it's changing. It's like retail went away and then now it's like becoming like necessary for it to come back so people can really like understand it. Amazing. Look, I can't keep you all day. I wish I could, but so we always wrap up with one question, and that is, what is the worst advice you've ever received?
Oh God, the worst advice. No, it goes back to Jen. It goes back to that, of not listening to things that people tell you. They're like, you should make, you should do colored stones or turquoise, or like, it's like, why? No, I don't want to do that. Like, it's like, people try to tell you what they think you should be doing all the time. Don't listen to other people.
Right.
Like, honestly, like, and I've gotten so much shitty advice over the years. I mean, I couldn't even tell you. It's crazy. Don't listen to other people.
Too much, right? It's like, listen to your authentic self, grow as you want to. There's always this thing about like, oh, you got to raise all this money, and that's success. It's like, no, that means that you haven't made the money. I understand that there's some things that require upfront money, like super, heavy product related or tech related or research or whatever. But it's like,
don't sell your name either.
Oh, that's another one. Don't sell your name. Yeah.
Your name.
Amazing. So we have a new store coming in 22. In March, we have more from your Jennifer Fisher kitchen line coming. I love it. There's lots to look forward to. And so if people want to find you, how do they find you?
They find me on Instagram. We're at Jennifer Fisher Jewelry or Jennifer Fisher Kitchen. And our website is www.jenniferfisher.com.
Amazing. Everyone go on there and buy some hoops, buy some salts, and stay tuned for everything else you got going.
Thanks,
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome. You're so inspirational, and I'm so happy that you're doing so well. It's so great.
I'll see you around the neighborhood.
Oh yeah. We run into each other in the neighborhood too, with a cute little dog for the most part. Everyone, thank you for listening to this episode of Taking Care of Lady Business. Until next time, I'm Jennifer Justice.